Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 2019 Year in Review and Community Town Hall. And as I say in the subtext here, man, what a fun year it's been. It's been so good to be doing the game called Coach Accountable. Being of service to all you guys and hearing all your feedback and making the constant din of improvements that we have has been its usual exercise and really satisfying, making an impact in an endeavor, a field, an industry that we're really passionate about. And with that, I'm really excited to take a little time to kind of recap all the things that happened and then get into a lot of your good comments and questions that were sent in over the last few weeks to sort of give you a sense for not only, go deeper than I usually would with a response to those that I might email, but also unpack some of the thinking, so to kind of let you guys in on the world of like how we view things and how we make decisions and where we're going and where we've been and how you guys can be a part of that. So I thank you all for coming. And with that, let's get to it with the year in review. I'd like to just kind of share some of the highlights of what got added in 2019. Now, as I go through this, we could go all like, Apple keynote and Steve Jobs back in the day of getting all excited and like, aren't we cool? Look at all these great things and build excitement in the audience. And that's fine. But frankly, we don't need the ego stroke. We're good. We're having a good time. What I'd like you guys to listen for instead, really, that would actually give this some utility beyond just to sort of like, hey, look at what's new, is one, goodies that you might have missed. One of the constant overtures and indeed challenges for us here at CoachAccountable Labs is we make the system do so much stuff, and yet that requires, it's a double-edged sword, that requires familiarity of all the stuff it can do and how to make the most of it and actually take advantage of that stuff. So it breaks our heart when people say, oh man, I wish CoachAccountable did this. And we're like, it totally does this. I'm so glad you asked. But I'm also sad that it took you so long to ask. So be listening for, things that did come on in 2019 that you might not have recognized was a thing and that you could actually, get more out of CoachAccountable and have it be better for you, after this webinar for letting this in. And the second thing is I would like you guys to get kind of a feel for what can happen in a year. I mean, part of this is really a matter of educating you guys or kind of training you guys in, well, here's the sorts of things that we're keen to do, the sort of directions we're keen to grow this platform in. I figure you guys being sort of, if not well-versed, at least kind of familiar with what that is and what that looks like only benefits everyone, because if you are aware of that, you're in a place to be more empowered to sort of chime in and give that kind of direction of, well, hey, this would be useful for me, maybe it'd be useful for other people. And that speaking up is so good for CoachAccountable actually being the product of an entire community of folks making it the best darn thing that it can be. So listen in for that too, because that overall arc of 2019 gives you sort of an extrapolatable projection into what 2020 could look like in terms of, again, new goodies and things to make your world a better place doing the work that you do. So let's get into it. The first category of things that are new in 2019 kind of fall under the label of a tidier, more organized CA. These are sort of basic features, but give a little bit of a oomph to, making things nicer and tidier, being able to put whiteboards and organize them by folders. When I first designed whiteboards, I was like, people are going to have maybe 3 or a dozen max. Some people got way more into it, and a folder organization is nice. So we added that. Visibility settings for client files and metrics. One thing that a customer said, like, hey, we'd really love to have CoachAccountable be all things, one-stop shop for everything. We have some files that we want to put on someone's, client record, but they're for our internal use and reference. We don't need to share that with them. Can we make private files? So we added those things. Similarly for metrics, the idea of being able to do internal metrics, that are rating stuff, but not necessarily client-facing goals that they're concerned with. We added things like per client arrangement, the ability to customize, what clients do and don't see. As you guys are probably all too familiar, CoachAccountable does a lot. And having all that stuff there can be overwhelming. So it's nice to be able to selectively turn on and off certain features. And that used to be a global setting where you turned it on and off for everybody. But maybe, just maybe, you've got, metrics are generally a thing, but you've got 2 or 3 clients who they're never going to touch metrics. They don't need to see that. So you can now selectively turn that off for them. We've got per client notification settings. Again, the granularity of what you can set, turn on or off used to be a global setting for everybody. But now you can basically say like, okay, most people want a notification when an action item becomes late, but this particular exec, they just don't care, or that's too much clutter for them. Let's turn off certain things for them so they can have a more streamlined thing. We got a couple of good things about better file managing. Just a little nice to have, but can be very convenient. Multi-file uploads for client sharing. Both you and clients can upload a whole batch of files rather than doing them one at a time. And that really resonated with us as anything that makes the job easier for your clients to show up and participate and do the work with you as coach. We're all about it. Take away as much friction as possible. So if they are coming to you and have like 20 files of the last year that they need to upload to sort of share that, yeah, let's make it as super easy for them as possible. And that's a win for everybody. Moving on, all client files exporting. You guys know that you can do a client file export of all their stuff, the stream, basically a nice souvenir in a single HTML file that's right for your own records or sharing with them. Similarly, we added a way to just get all their files into a nice little zip folder that you can again get for your own archival uses, or to again pass along to them as a souvenir of their work with you. And then finally, managing your storage space. That's this seldom comes up, but when it does, it's super useful. Maybe you've worked with 50 clients over the last year, and they're all wrapping up their program, and you want to downgrade and deactivate all this stuff. And so you might get into that rare situation where your storage space actually bumps you up to a higher level rather than your actual number of clients. This is a nice quick way to clean up old storage files, to delete in bulk according to select criteria to get down to a nice manageable amount. We added some important enhancements to groups. Group whiteboards are now a thing, the ability to sort of create one whiteboard and share with a group. That has nice properties in that if you have a non-client participatory group, what we kind of call an admin group, you can actually add people to it. They don't know that they're in a group, but that's your way to sort of do things in bulk with that group, including publishing a whiteboard of things like maybe centralized information or key program policies, that sort of thing. And what's nice about that is when you publish it that way, you can edit it at the group level whiteboard, and it magically appears updated for all clients who have been shared in that fashion. We had a group action projects. Group actions have been a thing since groups were originally released years ago. And that was the stuff of like, okay, as a group, we're all going to take on giving one stranger a hug this week, and let's all mark it complete when we've done it. This is the stuff of actually having a project with discrete steps, chunking it up and delegating it to various members, and they can all kind of work together, pull towards that progress of everyone getting it done. And then we also added a group files area. It used to be that group files could be found easily enough by double-clicking on files in the group stream so that everything but files would disappear, and then you could see the listing of all files. But we added the same sort of files structure and organization of folders, and can be all viewed in one place on their own little files tab in the group pages. We did some stuff this year about teaching. There's never been a better time to sort of say like, okay, I want to learn all the ins and outs of how I can be a better coach using this darn platform. What have you got for me? Well, we got a lot of videos now that you can check out. The whole webinar series, kind of a surprise to me, turned out to have a lot of content that went well beyond just the mechanics and nuts and bolts of click here to do this, or here's what this feature does and here's what you might want to use it for. And getting instead more into the deep strategies and mindsets and overall arc of how you as a coach can conduct yourself, armed and embedded by the tools that CoachAccountable provides to give your clients a really great experience. So if you ever want to, feeling plucky and have 45 minutes to burn, 22 minutes if you watch it on 2x, give a webinar topic of interest a watch, and you're going to learn some great things that will go deeper than just how to use CA. User interviews, we did a handful of those. There's a nice little way to sort of give folks what they've asked for, called like, well, how are other coaches using this? What do they do? We got some great interviews where you can actually kind of see me sitting down with someone and going deep into how CoachAccountable has impacted their business and what ways they've used it. We added something called the CoachAccountable story. It's just a blog post now. We'll elevate it to other places, but it's really a nice little sort of touch point story of a hypothetical day in the life of a coach who's really using CoachAccountable to its fullest, complete with little hyperlinks of all the various features alluded to that allows you to get a deep dive into. If any of those things of a nice using CA to its fullest day of as a powerful, effective coach resonate, that's a nice springboard to go off into various topics and then get curious about how to apply it to your own business. And then finally, the video riff series is a nice little sequence of just 2-minute videos of me talking on assorted topics where, again, you can kind of get familiar with the mindsets behind using CoachAccountable to its fullest, and again, what we're doing and how we see to have this platform serve what you do as a coach. We had some good integrations with other systems here in 2019. First and foremost, back in February, we added a direct sync with Outlook, which put it on a footing with Google Calendar in terms of just a few clicks, and it all magically clicks and seamlessly works together. We also added Zoom account connections so that CoachAccountable can set Zoom meetings on your behalf within your own Zoom account, so that appears seamlessly in the location field and everyone kind of gets done that. Again, it's under that umbrella of saving you guys time and steps and making things just seamlessly work and flow. That is beautiful. That gets us kind of excited, so we're really happy to add that. One of the things that surprised me actually when I was sort of researching, like, okay, is it time to sort of pick Zoom as a winner and say like, yep, that's the one we're going to have a first order integration with CoachAccountable? I was surprised, but maybe not too much, to actually do a sort of like search of the whole canon of all appointments, you know, scheduled in CoachAccountable over the last year, and find that fully 50%, maybe 48, had the word Zoom somewhere in the location field. Wow, you guys are using Zoom a lot for your appointments, so I'm really glad that that's sort of now a first order thing that everyone can take advantage of seamlessly. We made some great things to help you run more of your business and do it elegantly. So we added engagements, which is the whole scheme of, you know, setting up an allocation of how many appointments can you have, and you know, recurring billing for that, and the system would manage that all for you once set in motion. We added client agreements, which is the stuff of, you know, dropping your DocuSign or HelloSign and actually have people write their signatures and have records of, you know, certain agreements for whatever legalese and just overall program integrity purposes that you need. And we added just 5 days ago the ability to set due dates for your invoices and have a lockout mechanism, so that if appointments are overdue, hey, thanks for logging in, you got to pay this in order to continue. A certain elegant way to sort of put the enforcement, shall we say, make CoachAccountable be the bad cop to do the work of collecting from clients who are, you know, delinquent on their agreements of paying for your services. And then finally, just a little bit of a high level intel that sort of like, you know, dash of, you know, giving you guys a sort of overview. We made some nice displays. One of them is the Coach Touchpoints report that allows you to see, well, what sort of cadence and what sort of interactions am I or are my team of coaches having with each of their clients? Are certain clients being neglected? Are certain, you know, practices being done at a routine interval to give them that sort of high touch level of support? Coach Touchpoints reports gives a nice visual into exactly that. The client activity stats report was added about a week and a half ago. That's a nice way of getting just sort of the raw numbers of like, hey, well, how many actions are people doing in a week? How many of them are being completed? How many sessions are happening? How many hours of logged appointments are happening? You know, broken down by client and by date or by week or by month and so on. It's a nice little, again, high level look into who's active and then what sort of things. And then finally, we added a few smarter at a glance displays, the ability to see the date of the next appointment with each of your clients in the My Client listing and sort by that. So you can kind of see from top to bottom, who am I going to be talking to next, and work your way down the list as you familiarize and get yourself prepared for those coaching sessions. Other things like that got added to the mix, and they're all due to some really great insightful perspective on what would be useful in the day-to-day workflows. If CoachAccountable got the data on that, I'm happy to cook up little displays that make that sort of thing just hum for whatever work flows one employs. So I dare say that's not bad for 12 months. We're pretty proud of what we've done and what we've added. And like I said, when we got started, it's been our absolute joy to kind of listen and be receptive to what people are saying would be useful and be like, yes, that's a great idea. Let's do that. It just is just another year, you know, add one, this is year 7 of that cadence of having it be, yes, a benevolent dictatorship call that all goes through me and I make all the decisions. But boy, I'm sure keen to hear and take seriously what you guys think. So with that retrospective on the year, let us transition into the community town hall Q&A. I set out a couple of weeks ago a video request for you guys to send me your questions, your comments, your feedback about things that you like, things that you don't, things you'd like to see, things you wonder about. And I got some great responses, and I'm excited to sort of unpack all of them in an anonymous Q&A fashion and get to it. The first one that kind of dovetails on what I just said was someone who said, what kind of feature ideas do you respond to? All of my ideas have been met with a resounding no, next. So first of all, I kind of take exception to that qualification. I actually dare say with this particular individual, I had been a little more patient and explaining of that. However, to his credit, he had given a number of requests, and his hit rate, shall we say, wasn't terribly great. So I get the frustration. He and I had a really great conversation, and during it, he basically said something that I thought was fascinating, a bit of perspective, that it's basically a black box of what do you respond to? What do you do? How can we even know what you're keen to hearing? It's a bit frustrating. It's a black box of your decision-making process. And I agree. Seems like kind of a black box. So let's look inside. Let's demystify this process to kind of let you guys into the world of how this works. To do that, let's kind of distinguish a few feature request do's and don'ts that I think will kind of get you in my own mindset and familiar with the thought process behind it. So under the don'ts, the first one is to assume that the usefulness of whatever it is you're proposing is self-evident. It might not be, actually. So just blithely requesting it with no follow-up or painting the picture doesn't go quite as well. Trying to have CA be something it's not. I mean, there's a certain direction that CA is committed to going and certain principles that we're committed to that guide us. The kind of value we want to make is really, help you guys run a better business, save you guys time, make your coaching services more saleable, have your clients get better results, have their experience of being coached by you being better. That's really the core of it. When you suggest something that's trying to have it be something other than that and going far afield of those sorts of aims and intentions, there's a good chance that it's going to be perhaps a resounding no, but I'll try to be polite about it. Another one is overstate the importance or urgency. If you come in saying this needs to be now, or I've talked to a dozen of my colleagues and they all agree this is important and these people won't use it unless you add X, Y, or Z, well, okay, that may be true, but two things. One, if we're not hearing that ourselves, then we have to take your word for it, and that doesn't have quite as much power as actually our position of we listen to our own customers, not hypothetical would-bes, if only we change, which of course is a terrible recipe for, dating, oh, I'd love them if they only would change. Well, it's cool. Just find someone who's already a better fit from the get-go. It's no problem. But also that kind of overstating of importance and urgency rides roughshod over the actual talking to the merits of it itself. The merits of the idea are what really count, not the whole 50 people agree you need to do this. Well, if you go the popular vote thing, you're not being responsible for the merit of the idea, and so that's a don't. And then finally, assuming it would be easy to add. I dare say this is one of my personal human foibles. When someone insinuates like, hey, this should take you no more time, I promise you, I will be the judge of that. I'm the one who's going to have to be responsible for it in the long term, and everything that I add will entail some sort of cost of, ongoing maintenance and having the system and managing that complexity. So don't tell me it will be easy to add. I'll let you know if it'll be easy to add. And boy, don't get me wrong, I love telling people, hey, that's a great idea. Let me knock it out this afternoon. I'll just do that because it's easy. I'll let you know. It's good stuff. So let's get to the do's. A lot of these are sort of logical opposites of the don'ts, but let's unpack them just a little bit. Make the case for your feature. If you have a feature request, unpack it a little about why. Give me some context of why you're making this feature request. Give me some of the impact of without it, here's what I have to do, or it's clunky for my people, or it's wasting me 2 hours a week and things like that. That sort of impact is great. And similarly, describe the opportunity of having it. How would the world /CoachAccountable / the experience of everyone else on the platform be better if we actually had it? Give me making that case for it goes a long way to having me actually take it seriously. Another one is make specific and concrete suggestions. Sometimes it's just a complaint and you can make the case for it, but if there's nowhere for me to go with it, well, how would you do it better? And it's not clear, we're going to see this in a few slides, but someone says, metrics I find are still a bit clunky. Okay. How would it be less clunky? Because I've done my best and, a lot of people understand it and it may be a learning case, but there may be something I don't know. Saying, just make it better. I'm not going to say it's insulting, as if to say, well, I haven't bothered to make it better, but I totally could if I wanted to. But I might actually have already done my best on a certain thing, and so concrete suggestions go a long way. Similarly, making a mock-up. The ability for you guys to actually collapse metrics, for example, was something that, on the Delightful Collaboration series in the blog, Twyla had just made a mock-up. Was it pretty? Was she a designer? No, it was in Word, and you could tell there's some crude cropping done, but it was crystal clear what she was asking for. I'm like, hey, that's great. I get it. It was done that afternoon. That kind of mock-up can go a long way to make it clear what you're looking for and have me get it versus having to take your word for it that it's urgent and whatever else. And finally, I think understand that virtually all ideas entail some sort of trade-off and opportunity cost. If it'd be great for you, yes, but any feature that I add entails a certain dilution of the other features. Remember what I alluded to just a second ago about how there's a lot of features that people are looking for and don't know they exist. Well, that's because it does a lot. So I got to be really conservative about what I ask and make sure that everything earns its way onto the page, into the application, because it comes at a cost of making other things sort of drowned out. Everything that I add has that opportunity cost. Even if I can add it quickly in a day, it often escalates into, well, can you round out the feature to make it more complete? I'll give you a quick example of this. I just added that ability to lock out clients who have overdue invoices. And I've already gotten a little bit of feedback back. Hey, it'd be great to be able to specify whether or not certain things should happen as part of lockout. Should we mute all reminders, or should they stay on and let people kind of know that they're still in a program? Should we automatically pause all courses, or should we just kind of keep them going and let them, again, feel that pressure of like, oh, the program's rolling on without me, I need to pay. These are degrees of freedom that entail logical, shall we say, extensions to a base feature that make it, shall we say, more expensive than the original cost of launching it. So I am certainly more aware than anyone else of what those are, and I don't begrudge anyone for not really fully understanding the impact of those things. But so all that is to say, please understand that they do entail a request, and that there's a certain bar that may be a little higher than you think to clear in order to have it really earn its way into the application. Ultimately, all of this said is that recognizing that the benevolent dictatorship that is CoachAccountable does have its certain perks and efficiencies. Yes, everyone can kind of whisper into my ear, and when I do say your vote in favor is counted, it truly is. And that, because I'm sort of at the hub of many spokes of users coming, I am aware of all the perspectives of the people who are really out to serve the community who uses CoachAccountable in ways that any one person would be very hard to have greater perspective on. So I'll do my best, always will, always have, continue to very much enjoy it. That's the benevolent dictatorship here that welcomes that input genuinely, has certain perks and efficiencies. I took a good look at a different platform, and they had a few features I really loved, but they lacked a few features that in CA that are important. The other platform shines, providing features to help sell programs and packages. They do this by providing a website. When I tried to use offerings, I could not figure out if there was a way to create a landing page that is not a calendar to schedule a meeting. I watched several videos on offerings, but it's still a little confusing to me. I would like to see more features in this area. So this is an interesting one, and this is where there's two facets at play here. One is familiarity with how to best use CoachAccountable. I think there may be a little confusion here about, again, not knowing how to create a landing page that's not a calendar to schedule a meeting. You can make offerings that themselves are just, hey, here's the deal, and pay for it, and there's no appointment scheduling as part of the offering. That's not a mandatory component. This is a great instance where reaching out to us with a good question can help us to get someone on the right page and see that maybe the system's a little closer than it could be. I think the bigger thing to riff about on this one is the idea of, I'd like to see more features in the area of providing landing pages, providing websites. If you guys were tuned in on the last question, that this kind of runs afoul of the trying to make CA something that it's not. And one of the things that I'm very leery of, feature request wise, is reinventing wheels that are already really done by things that are dedicated to that. Yes, there's a certain allure to have CoachAccountable be all things to all people, and the Uber platform that truly does everything. But again, that comes at cost of dilution, if not my own bandwidth and time, but the complexity of the system at whole. So trying to reinvent the building a website thing is something I will never do. There's great platforms out there that are free or free-ish, close to it. You've got things like WordPress with its easy installs and set a template and all that. Squarespace is in a similar class. Wix, I think, is a similar class. What this suggests to me is not that we should ever try to have CoachAccountable be its own website builder and make your own website and have it hosted by CoachAccountable. But maybe we should make a little guide to CoachAccountable's guide to how to set up your own website using systems and tools that have dedicated hundreds, if not thousands, of man hours of work and ongoing resources in a community that's building it constantly. Use the best of and how to do it. We've said some things to that effect in 2 webinars ago when we got into here's how to copyright things that are really compelling. I think if we made a guide called here's how to go to WordPress.com or .org and install it and get hosting and pick a good theme. And here's how to write about your thing. And here's how to insert your login widget to CoachAccountable. And here's how to put your offerings widgets in there. That's probably the best lesson we can in terms of helping you to make your own website using best of tools and already existing platforms, rather than entertain CoachAccountable being its own website builder, which again, I mean, think about Squarespace with their armies of programmers and support people who are dedicated to just that problem alone of building websites. I don't want to try and step on the toes of that. Reinventing that wheel is not going to be of service to people in the coaching world quite like other things that are actually specific to coaching. Now, next one, thanks for having this type of webinar. Here is my wish list as you requested. 1, a section in the managed client area that shows a client's monthly billing amount. Here's a good example where specificity would help. Should that be sort of saying that, is this an engagements thing where you've got a regular billing amount that the system can know about, and then we want to just merge some of the data from the client's program engagement and put it elsewhere to make it more visible, I guess. If you're going to the managed client thing, that means you're clicking the little gear icon on a client and looking up that. Is it not as easy to click on the engagement icon right next to it to see that monthly billing thing? Or maybe the monthly billing thing should be in the listing itself. That might be, that sort of direction and clarity would go a long way to me addressing this. Number 2, ability for a coach to push a worksheet to their senior leader. We would like to create a client results worksheet with one of our coaches would fill out monthly to update us on their results and inform us of anything we might need to know. Client issues that might affect coaching. Now, this is an interesting one. There's some real potential here, but again, I need to sort of sort out. This is someone who uses the technique of having clients themselves, client manager types, have coaching accounts themselves. So I need to know who's the client, who's the coach, are they group members, managers, like the specifics of this would go a long way to tease this out. And it might well be that this is already quite possible if you, again, employ the use of coaches and freebie clients and who's reporting to what and making it visible in what sort of group structure. This might, again, be right for a hand-holding session where we can kind of talk through the particulars of what is trying to be accomplished and then see if the system as is would do that versus a whole new feature. 3, personal journal for a coach. You mentioned in many videos your goal for CA is to make it a central repository for all things coaching. Oh, so true. We would love to be able to have a coach have a personal journal entry for their home area. This one, actually, I would say that there's certain workarounds that are 85% solutions, maybe better. Whiteboards is a great place to do your own journal entries. And again, that's right there accessible from the client's dashboard. And also the ability for all clients to have their own freebie account means they can go into their freebie account, frankly, either as coach or logged in as client, and just make journal entries in that space, which would give them, again, that personal journal for the coach. If either of those two things aren't sufficient, there's probably something that's not being expressed about convenience of access and who it should be shared with or not. That would probably, again, give sort of more of the nuanced context behind the request. But it might be, like I said, that functionality that's already here would be more than sufficient. And then number 4, have a system email address for a group to forward or BCC an email from a group member into the group stream. Well, this one I really like, actually. This kind of falls under that radar of having things be feature complete, fully rounding out an existing feature. As you guys know, or maybe don't know, there are system email addresses by which any client can send an email and then that post to as a message in the client stream, and vice versa for coach. Coach could email a client in CoachAccountable and have that just pop right, be delivered via email, but also be captured in CoachAccountable itself. It's super cool. Maybe group should have their own system email addresses so that each client and coach member could email that specific thing or that specific address, and then again have the message go out as usual, as if posted from the group's page while logged in. But again, it's bringing that convenience of being able to interact with CoachAccountable from your own home turf, your own email client, which we all are pretty comfortable with. That I really love. It's so consistent with that, and it doesn't create a lot of extra clutter and complexity in the system. So that one's I've never had that in 7 years. I've never had anyone request that, but that's not a bad one. I think I would just do that. So you guys watch this space and see when that's done. Next up, I'm a new user and a new coach from the UK. I've started with the basics and really seeing the benefits already with my stripped down utilization of CA. My early insights are that it's the accountability automation that's making the true difference, and that's without messaging. Question, what are the hurdles for implementing messaging for the UK? There's actually a really simple closed answer to this one. There's just one hurdle, it's price. And it seems kind of silly, but it's kind of silly actually. I still don't understand the business model, but we use Twilio, and here's the pricing for the United States. It's just under a penny to both send and receive a message, and this is as published here on their pricing page. The UK, 6 times that to send. And that 4 cents is not a lot, but if someone's got a metric and reporting on it daily or a couple of them via text, that can actually add up in a way that I'm just not comfortable with. At least I haven't been for the longest time. But okay, it's fine. It's okay because it's fine. I really get the intent behind that user's question, and I really agree with all that he said about the accountability being, and the automation of it being one of the really powerful things of CoachAccountable. So as of about 24 minutes ago, texting is turned on for UK, and you guys can now, people in the UK, I've got a phone number for that. I'm going to add a few more companies as we go, or countries as we go. I think most of the English-speaking ones will be there by probably the end of the week. I tried to get an Australia one really quick, but there's all kinds of forms and regulations that they have to do. I bet they get less robocalls in Australia, so good on them. Happy to jump over those hurdles and get some of those things hooked up as well. So that'll just be a thing going forward now, and we'll just eat the cost. It's fine. So yeah, there's that one. Good question, good insight, and I'm happy to address that and have it be better.
John, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Peter. Oh, and oh yeah,
no, just a quick comment there. It's something that we spoke about quite some time ago. I don't know how much we're going to use it, but it will make a difference because the text message, the SMS, is that much more direct. It's faster, easier. The one we as you know, we've implemented CoachAccountable into a couple of sales teams where sales team leaders are coaches. In both situations where we've done that, we've had issues where we had to jump through hurdles getting CoachAccountable.com whitelisted for email because the response things were causing issues. It's still causing an issue in one client because their security system adds a cautionary note at the top of any replies to identify that this message has come in from outside. So to give people, for us to now be able to give people the chance to engage without having to go through the corporate IT system, because they can be logging the mobile phone number, that might significantly reduce some friction. That's really good news, John. And I'm very much aware that you're opening the door there, not quite aware of what additional cost you're loading into the business. So thanks for the generosity of spirit in having a go there.
My pleasure. And everyone, thanks to Peter Button for being kind of my guinea pig with using this feature. Here in the US, I don't really have access to a UK mobile for which to text, so he was gracious enough to have CoachAccountable erroneously send a few texts, and eventually we got it, so that's nice. Yeah, to your point about it being beneficial, another thing that kind of, shall we say, more things that kind of led to the overall shift, like, okay, let's just do it. Another user in Australia said, even if I could just text for appointment notices, in my experience, the difference in response for showing up is dramatic. It's about 50-50 if someone gets an email reminder, and it's about 90-10 if they get it via text. So he said, like, I don't care. I could go without it for actions and metrics and worksheets, but if we could just send text for those appointments, that would make a big difference. And that really resonated with me. I actually toyed with maybe making certain countries like restricted texting, appointments only, but then I thought it's just too much engineering. I don't care. It's fine. So there you go. Good weigh-ins and giving me perspective on the difference that it would make helps inform and guide the ship. So it's good stuff. In sort of that fashion, as I see here, I've got this ominous slide that's been showing for way too long. But if you see something, say something that sounds a little too ominous, so I'm just going to scratch that and say, like, there's no need to suffer in silence. Our last comment was not actually a response to my request for this webinar, but a support ticket that kind of came in about the same time, and it seemed worth sharing. Hey, when I go from full screen to back to post-it note view or whatever you want to call it, all the stuff I've typed in the session notes completely disappear. If I hadn't just saved them, they would be lost completely. But as long as I just save the note, I can X out of the newly minimized post-it window and open it again in the current tab. But it's really annoying / scary / frustrating, especially if I'm shrinking / growing the size of the CoachAccountable Chrome window and the session note automatically maximizes or minimizes, then I lose everything. Any way to look into how to fix this? I try my best to keep hitting save as much as I can, but I have lost some real coaching gold before, and it's rough. This one broke my heart. This has echoes of, oh my God, real coaching gold was lost. I'm so glad she spoke up and let me know. If you see something, say something / there's no need to suffer in silence. Basically, this was a bug that I never knew existed because I never really did too much with having a WYSIWYG window that's in floating mode, not anchored, but floating. And then you resize your browser to go in mini, mode, like for a phone where it goes, as she describes, full on, and then unresize it. And then indeed, it did disappear. I tried it once. I was like, oh, geez, it's doing that. That's a thing. No one else has told me about it, but she sure did, and she's seen it enough times. So 10 minutes later, fixed, pushed. Gave her a nice credit on our account. Thanks for the heads up and sorry for the hassle. And it was my absolute joy to squash that bug with extreme prejudice. Just knowing about it made all the difference, and I'm grateful for that input, and that's a great one. Here's something that's sort of analogous. Good features gone missing. Sometimes reaching out to express a desire or frustration is all that it takes. Here's one that we got. Again, this was in response to my request. Are there ways to make the forms library more streamlined so that anything I create for one client or share with one client can be mass shared to a community of clients of sorts on CA? I suspect more than a few people on the line here know the answer to this one. There's some good options. Just in a nutshell, courses and or groups would be a way to, again, sort of mass distribute anything that you create with just a few clicks, rather than if you've got 10 people going through and assigning it to all 10 or sharing it with all 10 and all that. Both of those power tools of automation, you can tailor it to the situation. One is going to be better than the other or vice versa, but just a little bit of exploration into that feature, those features that already exist and are already beautifully tuned for this sort of thing would probably make all the difference in terms of addressing this frustration that I read in this. Similarly, from the same email, I find the metrics tool a bit clunky. The September webinar made it easier to understand, but still not as user-friendly as I would like. Is it possible to create more of a straight tracking for the metrics? Something streamlined to help my business coaching clients track their financial progress throughout the year. So this, again, is an interesting one, and it really invites a follow-up question with follow-up, opportunity to like play the concierge of like, well, that's great. Now that I understand, have you look over here, or maybe you'd like to consider this. It might be that the metrics form for defining them is a little confusing itself. It might be that she's defining the same goals for people and it's clunky, and a course would be a great way to just do it once and then dispatch, with a few clicks. It might be that having form-based worksheets that are delivered automatically by a course would be that streamlined thing that she seeks to, set it once and then forget it and make it super easy for those clients to, fill out their weekly or monthly reports with all the numbers and have it magically pipe in. There are solutions, and just, showing and having a conversation. Well, what have you tried? What might not you have tried? And if she's tried everything, if that kind of conversation reveals that, yeah, I've done this, this is clunky. Oh, I'm all ears to that point earlier of like, please mock something up. Like what would really get to the essence of cutting through the clutter and making this simple? Because again, one of the things that, this benevolent dictatorship, I'm one serving many masters who we're working to, address lots of people's different use cases. The complexity of metrics as they are might be just a necessary evil, a necessary byproduct of having them be so flexible to serve so many masters, so many use cases. So again, it's a matter of like, well, is there something in particular that you see, or is it just a learning curve that needs to be surmounted just once, and then you're off to the races? It's a great thing that we'll reach out to her and figure that out. But speaking up about this does really bring up all those ideas that are immediately resonant that, oh, well, we should have a conversation. We might be able to help you real quick and without me doing any extra programming or feature changes to the system. This next one, here's one that's not from a CoachAccountable customer that I got actually 7 days ago that I thought would be kind of fun to just kind of share with the community, even though it's sort of out of bounds of the things that I said for this one. Hi, John. Just letting you know you're still on our radar. Let me know if you think it makes sense to jump on a call. If not, I'll ping you again in 6 or 7 months. Now, by itself, this may be mysterious, but basically this was sent from an individual who's emailed me a couple times on behalf of, I don't know, he's interested. My client is interested in acquiring CoachAccountable. We think you're a great business and we want to buy you, blah, blah, blah. So here we go, just another ping. These kind of come once a quarter or so, give or take. And so that's something that came into CoachAccountable Labs, and I said, thanks, but don't bother. Cheers, John. Oh my God, I have no interest. It just sounds just terrible to sell this thing and have it be. I mean, basically, one of the things, I guess I'll just sort of do an open letter, confidential to any would-be investor / acquirer of CoachAccountable. No, like most of you have no sort of ties or connections to the coaching world. You basically represent dumb money that wants to buy a machine by which to make more money. And to that, I kind of proudly and cheekily say, and if you're sensitive, mute your thing right now, go fuck off. Like seriously, like we're good. We're having fun. I have no interest in having anyone but me run this thing. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And that gives me great joy, and I hope it gives you too. All right, moving on to the next thing. Hi, CA is awesome. I just wish clients would use it more. Maybe I haven't explained that this is part of the coaching process. Is there a strategy or roadmap we can take clients through to help them get on board with CA more easily? I'm pretty new, and I've only had one real client use it. She doesn't like it, and I wish she would. That's a good one. And here's another one that came in related that so really gets to the heart of it. How can my clients further see the value of CA and use the features? Now that's an excellent question. I mean, without delivering it and presenting it with a certain finesse or straightforwardness, or even without using it to its fullest, CoachAccountable can absolutely occur to someone as just another goddamn app that they've got to log into and install or whatever. It can appear as just another note-taking facility, which is not sexy at all. It's not interesting. It's boring. Why should I have to manage another system just to read notes that I would be perfectly happy if they came into my email? So there's a certain art to, utilizing CoachAccountable to its fullest, which then allows it to transcend that more mundane thing. And also the way you use it and inform your clients about how to interact with it can get them off of that sort of, grating sensation of like, oh God, I have to log into this stupid thing just to talk to my coach. Well, no, you don't. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've done to make sure that clients can interact with the system from their very own email, to our earlier discussion about system email addresses, reporting metrics, marking complete, having alerts of worksheets come to you in one-click access and it just pops up. Nothing to install, no need to log in. It's just kind of reduced as much friction as possible. So you want to let them know that, but also you want to let them know that, yes, this is more than just note-taking and actually is a vital part of the thing. So this earlier question, asked, like, is there a strategy or roadmap we can take clients through to help them get on board? And we've talked a lot about this, and really there are a few select webinars that really get to the heart of this that are worth reviewing. Again, there's no one-size-fits-all sort of guide that we can create to this, at least as far as I can tell. We're starting to tease out the common threads, but there's so many different variations and nuances. One really does have to learn some of what we have laid down that's generally applicable and then tailor it to your situation. The 4 webinars that I highly recommend for this process is the client lifecycle, which really gets into what it is to set the tone and have the during of your work be powerful, and also the finish be really great, where they feel acknowledged and there's this record of cool things that made it really worth that price of admission. The session cycle also really gets into, look, this coaching experience with me, it's not just about the 30 or 60 or 90 minutes that we have when we talk every once a week, once a month, whatever. There's all these other supporting nuances that will be delivered to you and allow you to sort of participate and map this onto your life when I'm not right there with you. Having them excited for all those things that are going to happen, wherein, again, you're not just buying conversations, you're buying a sustained, supported experience of making life-changing action happen and applied to things that you find important. Wielding these things fully and expressing this is a really powerful way to get them excited. I, in fact, had about 3 weeks ago someone say, hey, I love the session cycle. Could I get the slides for that? And I think what he was referring to was, how it sort of animated through, like, each one of these things magically appearing as we go around the circle. And I said, sure. And I sent him the whole deck of JPEGs because he wanted to actually make it as part of his sort of pitch to differentiate. Look, I'm not just a bunch of conversations here. There's a process, and there are things that are going to happen. And I say, use this fully to your advantage, because you guys are in this unique class of actually using the system that does have your coaching be so much more than the sessions. The webinar, coaching a metric, it's kind of niche, but boy, there's a lot to be said about getting someone excited for actually tracking something. And CoachAccountable makes that worth the price of admission so much more, and so much more than that note-taking apparatus. If it's actually going to be, the foundation for creating a game worth playing, the foundation for actually tracking and managing it and working towards it as you go, and the foundation for looking back at what happened and unpacking the story and distilling the wins and all that. This is a nuanced one. The others are a little more general and holistic, but this goes into nuts and bolts of the coaching metric. Yes, Philip?
I would just want to chip in for metrics, because that's definitely like one. I did a 4-week test with one client, and I actually took up the metrics with them in a meeting and showed them how valuable it is for our coaching, because we were looking at like how frequently they were doing a specific workout for their fitness program. And it became so clear because we've been tracking every time they did that workout and how it felt. So we went through on that exercise and saw in the metrics all the notes that they had written for that workout for the whole month. Yeah. And it just became very clear for them how powerful a metrics can be to go back and see, like, okay, how's your progression going? And like, where did you stumble? Like, where did you have pain in your shoulder, or where did this happen? Or how frequently are we doing shoulder exercises? So like, to actually sit with the client and go through the metrics with them was like, for me, like, it sold the client to be more active with writing notes and making sure that all the data is in the metrics.
Bravo.
And after that session, it just switched them. They were so more eager now to use all these things that might seem geeky, but yeah.
Brilliantly done. Yeah, that review really sort of puts into perspective, like, what happened, what worked, what didn't, and bring in that habit actually to have it make a difference. So it wasn't just a bunch of good ideas floating around in their heads during those 4 weeks of something you set it in motion. They actually.
John, I'd like to talk about metrics for a second too, if that's possible.
Sure thing, please do, Rob.
Yeah, so I put my clients on metrics, and I primarily put like their key result areas that they're tracking on a week-by-week basis. So like one of them, for example, owns a gym, and she's tracking new members, revenue, members that are disengaged, and then also a referral program. And it's like clockwork. She enters in all that information before our coaching calls. And what it does for her is it identifies where she is based on her goals, what's working and what's not working, and then we can coach around what other things she might be able to do. So, I think that metrics is by far the most powerful component of CoachAccountable, because it also shows ROI to my clients. I can justify the ROI to them as well.
Brilliant. Well done. Yeah, that's that whole thing of share it. This is how we roll. Justifies the ROI. Great. Thanks for sharing, Robert.
But really showing this ahead of time, I think, can be powerful. Like you've said many times, is like take screenshots and let clients know about these things before they are like a few months into the program, just so they're excited about like these tools and how CoachAccountable is incorporated into the coaching. You say that a lot, like take screenshots, generate your own stuff. And I think that is really essential to get people excited about it.
It's very differentiating. A lot of websites that advertise coaching services have a certain cadence and style about them, of what they say, what they promise, but it's largely left to the imagination, and left to the imagination, it becomes undifferentiated masses. Which is the right coach for me? So yeah, Philip, when you show that in advance, it can create excitement and show that, okay, here's how this works. Here's what I'm getting into. Very good. All right. Anyway, wrapping up, there's the fourth webinar that, again, can help clients get excited, and that is that whole tuning your coaching pitch, which actually, Philip, you beat me to the punch. It really is about, showing off what's going to do, and going into the copywriting that really speaks to, we're going to be really results-based. This is not just conversations. This platform is not just another darn thing to log into, but actually a foundation that's going to give you more than just when we talk. All right, so this is another one that seems incredibly self-dealing, but I promise I didn't stack the deck with this one. Someone actually sent this in to me. How can I contribute to CA, and how can CA contribute to my business? Great questions, both. I'll start with how can CA contribute to your business? I guess this feels almost redundant because we talk about this a lot, but I think it's actually really quite valuable to wrap it up into a couple of succinct bullet points. And if you guys agree and it resonates, that's great. And if you never really thought of it that way, that's even better, because you can actually see like, oh, there's something to this, the way that this works. Again, it's not just a note-taking tool. First, make your story more compelling. Second, make your offerings easy to buy. The logistics of embedding on your website and making someone be able to see what they're getting and just do it. Take all that friction out. Make your time count for more. Again, one of the things that we're excited about is that getting rid of the drudgery of mundane work and automating away as much as you can, so you can focus on why you got into coaching in the first place, which is making a difference with real people. We're all about it. And then make the results with your clients better. That actual supported experience that goes well beyond the time you're actually in session with them really does help them to keep on with what you're teaching them and apply it to their life, and the results are just better. So those are the four. I mean, have them on radar. And if you ever are wondering how to make any of these 4 bullet points real for you in your use of CoachAccountable, oh, that's a great opportunity for just reach out to us, ask us. We'll be happy to talk about your coaching style and what you could actually put on your website because you're using CoachAccountable to sort of make it more compelling and so on. That's what we're here for. That's the whole purpose of it, that contribution to your business and the work that you do. Going on to the how you can contribute to CA, well, there are a couple of things that really kind of fall out of a lot of what I just talked about and a few others. One is that, let us know if anything's janky. I mean, we're committed that this platform just be great. It should just hum. We have all the power in the world to make it do that, because unlike a lot of businesses that are software, there's all kinds of overhead and craziness. Like, oh, we got a bug database and there's a backlog, and we'll get to that maybe, hopefully, or our developer team in India, like we'll talk to them when we can because time zones, but they're already working on a sprint and we're not doing another release for another 3 weeks or a quarter or whatever. Like all that stuff is just, it's so demoralizing if you've ever tried to file a bug report with most companies. And I just want you guys to know, oh my God, I love bug reports, because we don't maintain a database because there's no need. I hear about it, and if I'm on my computer, it's probably fixed within the hour, if not 10 minutes, and that gives me such joy. And like I said about that one with under the, there's no need to suffer in silence. I was happy, like, here's $20, thanks for, sorry, and thank you. That's just so great. Let us know if anything's janky. Expect it to be great, and if it's not, letting us know is truly a gift that allows us to clean things up. And it's kind of like, I mean, we're all pals here, right? If we were out and I had spinach in my teeth, you'd tell me, right? Let us know if we have spinach in our teeth. All right. Number 2, let us know what you need. Like I said, there are many examples that I've covered of people sort of chiming in like, oh, I wish it did this, or can it do this? Sometimes that constitutes a genuine feature request, but other times it constitutes a, hey, let me tell you that it actually does that and get you on the right track so you don't have to slog through inefficiencies when actually CA's got you covered. So that's really great. Third up, share your story with a review. Another thing that we did this year was, actually start to cultivate getting some reviews on our Capterra page, and it's been really cool to hear people weigh in with their thoughts. A couple of them, what they weighed in with, actually spurned a feature request and actual implementation or two. It's a real gift for us to have anyone tell the world, good and bad, how's it going with your experience at CoachAccountable? And then finally, feel free to spread the love as a referrer. We are polite to a fault about this program. Most people don't know it exists. We basically tell people if they ask. But you guys as coaches can go to the My Account page and click on Refer Account and set yourself up with a few clicks. And it just gives you a magic link. And if you spread the love, you get credit and you can earn money. And that's cool, I mean, it's kind of a cheesy cliche, like the highest compliment anyone can give us is a referrer. But, it's cool. we're not going to hustle for it, but by all means, spread the love. And there we have it. Actually, no, wait, first of all, serious thank you guys. Like I said, just kind of bringing it all home. CoachAccountable was so fun to do. That's the reason why I told that investor guy to bugger off. Like, we're having a good time, and serving you guys and the work that you do and empowering you to do the best that you do is so life-giving and fulfilling. We wouldn't have it any other way. So thanks for being along the journey for another year in 2019, and let's rock house in 2020 and do what we can to serve you guys better and have you guys do better coaching and elevate the practice as a whole. Oh, it's my kind of fun. All right. That's the Finn. Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. We'll open it up for a random Q&A, but otherwise for everyone else, thanks for tuning in.